back home in Australia. All that I wanted to do when I was a kid was become a movie horse trainer, and that was kind of how it started. I just had a real interest in that, and stemming from that kind of led us down this path of live show entertainment.
So what did you go through to go on that career path?
Oh man, it's so crazy like this. You can't sort of just look up and go, okay, I want to become a movie horse trainer, here's the school I go to, right? So it's a really kind of complex thing of being able to try to find the right people that can share, knowledgeable information with you and that are actually prepared to help you. Because sometimes it can be a really close-knit little group of people and it becomes difficult to be able to get them to open up and share. So you really have to persevere and a lot of dedication to getting those people like the likes of Heath Harris has been a great big influence to me from Australia. Movie horse trainer down there that kind of took me under his wing and helped us out a great deal.
Really cool. All right, do you have a degree? What did you study anything?
You know what? I actually only did a couple of years of schooling. I went from year 1, primary school, year 1 to year 4.
Okay.
And then I did a little bit of homeschooling, and that was it. I started working away from home when I was about 14 in cold starting, and I was very fortunate that I worked for a couple of years and then went on to a college called Longreach Pastoral College where we did an intensive 12-month course, and that's it.
That's cool. All right. How did you become the trainer/clinician? Like, when did that become your title?
I never kind of really set out to become a clinician. It just so happened to be that as we were sort of working and doing a lot of the performances, people started saying, well, how'd you do that? And, over a period of a short time, a couple of years from 2009 until now, my partner, Dan Steers, who's back in Australia, him and I kind of started nutting things out and saying, well, I guess if we do this, this and this, that's how we'll go about explaining it. So it's only been a couple of years since we've been really, I guess, falling in the category of being a clinician.
Okay, really cool. Who was your role model?
Role model. Well, other than God, because that's the best one. You can't go wrong there. Other role models is, I guess, the two people I really look up to that weren't necessarily super talented horse people, but had really good work ethics, and that was my mum and dad. They really, taught us about, like working really hard and not being lazy and dedicating your life to something.
Okay, awesome. What does your typical day of work look like?
It is really mixed up a typical day, for us at work. It could be anything from being at an expo, like we have here, right? If we were at home, so to speak, and we weren't on the road, it might be a day mixed in between trying to, do accounts, pay bills, and book clinics. So all the paperwork business side of that is like, I just hate it. I just like want to go outside. So, and then I try to get to a point where I can then go and work my own horses, and that's what I live for, is to go out there and spend time training them. So there'll be other days when we're on the road, and it might be that we drive 1,400 miles for the day. So it just, it's a lot. You got to be versatile, do a lot of different things.
So how many hours a week do you work, would you say?
Well, I guess it depends on what you describe as being work in that field. If you're looking at what it takes to run my business and to take care of my horses and to go to things like the gym and stuff, it's from 6 or 7 every morning until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, and it's a 7-day-a-week deal. It's like there isn't a break in this.
That's crazy. How long have you been able to make a living out of this, as a professional?
I've been very lucky. Like when I left home when I was 14 and started working away, I started picking up a lot of work from about that age and starting colt. So I guess horse-related work since I was about, sort of really full-time from roughly around 15, 16. That's kind of like when I started, doing bits and pieces enough to make this a full-time living.
That's awesome. In your position, what's the typical yearly income that you'd find?
It really fluctuates a lot. It can, like for example, when you have a great year with something like Mustang Million, you get a big influx of cash. That, you can't really bank on stuff like that. It's a tough one to say, like average. Look, if you were to look at, say, turnover as opposed to profit, they're two completely different things. If you're looking at turnover, some years we might, hit close to, $500,000 or so. Other years it might be, a couple $100,000. But then you've got to remember that all the costs that have still got to come out of that.
What advice would you give to someone looking to be in the same career path as you?
I would definitely really go out and get involved with a few different trainers. You know, go and do 3 months with this one and 3 months with that one. Really get a feel for what the industry's like. You know, and the biggest thing or advice that I could like give to somebody that wants to be in this, if you really want to know what goes on, if you really want to understand the business, when those guys are out there at 3 o'clock in the morning, you be there watching. Be ready to take their horse from, ready to saddle up their horse, go and get their horse. Don't be that you've got to be the person asked to do something. You have got to be there, because that is the only kind of dedication that it's going to take in order to succeed in this business.
Just experience everything you can.
Yeah.
Really cool. What and or who inspired you in the field of riding, and what are they doing now?
What who? Look, there's been a lot of people that like have that I would look to, I guess, as far as inspiration. I mean, some people I haven't met. The likes of Lorenzo, the Flying Frenchman. I mean, what that guy's done has been incredible. You know, he's done some really amazing stuff. Heath Harris, you know, the movie horse guy from back home. I mean, amazing guy, like really out of the box kind of thinker. You know, and he's still doing the same deal now. He's sort of still training a few horses for movies, has a salary company. Dan Steers, my partner in this. I mean, you know, Dan and I, you know, bounce stuff off each other all the time. I mean, Dan, you know, going through the same kind of daily routine as I am. Some of the other people, Punt Carter, who's a cutting horse trainer from Texas, he's been another big influence. Clayton Fredericks, who's an Australian guy that's a coach for the Canadian Olympic team, he's another good mate of mine. You know, he's still doing the same deal. But Kim and Yvonne Boteau from KYB Dressage up in Chicago, these are all different people that I look to continually to say, hey, what can I do here? What should I do there? And, you know, we kind of just keep bouncing ideas, just continually trying to improve ourselves all the time.
That's insane. That'd be really cool to know all those people. What is your favorite part about your job or profession?
My favorite part, and the reason why I do this, and you know, this would be the piece again of going back to saying, hey, this has to be the number one factor of why you want to do this deal, is because you love the horse. Because that is the only thing that's going to make you have the dedication, the time, the patience, and all the other things. That's the part that you just got to really keep, you know, that focus point on. And then as a result of doing that well and doing the right thing by those animals, you know, that's what's going to help everything else happen around you.
If you could go back and change something or do something different, what would it be? Like meeting a person or training a different horse?
Oh, holy crap. I mean, there's that, I mean, that opens up this like massive window of things that I could go back and do differently. Like, some people say they don't have regrets. I definitely have regrets. There's been a lot of things that I could have done better, looking back on. You know, I think the more that you learn, the more you realize that you didn't know. And when you realize that you didn't know that back then, particularly when it comes to working on the horses, you're like, crap, I could have really done a better job on that horse. I really, now looking back on it, I probably could have helped that horse to go on and do better. And that, you know, that's kind of like the frustration with it, is that you don't have all the knowledge when you exactly need it. But you've got to just, you know, thankfully the horses are forgiving and they allow us to go back and kind of fix up some of our mistakes.
That makes total sense. Can you say horse for me?
Horse.
Cool. All right. What are some differences that...
Hey, wait, I didn't get the joke.
Nothing. Just don't worry about it. Just Australian and accent.
Okay.
Girl. You know, girls. Okay. What are some differences that you'd say you'd find in between Australian and American training styles?
You know, one of the biggest things that we probably find the differences in over here is that everybody over here is very specialized. Okay, like you're, you know, a reiner, a cutter, a jumper, you know, a hunter, a dressage trainer. Everyone over here is very specialized. In Australia, in order to survive in the horse industry, you've got to be prepared and be well-rounded. And you know, like for example, like, you know, I started a lot of thoroughbred horses, but I grew, you know, a lot of my early riding and competition was all eventing horses. So I rode a lot of horses in front of fences, dressage horses. You know, we started a lot of horses on cows because of, you know, the life that we were sort of in. So I think that the two biggest differences that I see in our two countries is that you guys are able to be specialists just in one area, and back home you need to be very well rounded to be able to, because you need that source of income from a lot of different areas, just not from one.
It's interesting to put that together. Now that I think about it, we are very separate. Do you have any struggles going back and forth from Australia and like the training styles? Do you find that difficult?
No, I don't find that difficult. Like, fortunately, you know, I guess that we are in, you know, a new company on the scene over here. So it gives us kind of like a little bit of an edge, like, because people are like, oh, I wonder what they're up to, and why they go about doing this. So it does help sort of being out of the country here in America to be set apart. That part definitely helps us out. Going back home, we've fortunately built our business to a point that we're probably one of the more recognised horsemanship companies in Australia. So that's taken a lot of time to build that reputation and to sort of maintain it. So it's kind of nice to go back home and for people to sort of know where we're coming from and continue to support us.
So looking at both Australia and the US, which one would you rather be more a part of, and which one is better economically in the horse industry?
Okay, for example, as far as economics go, this is why one of the main reasons why that we moved our business, we'll expanded it from Australia over to the US. You guys actually have more registered horse owners in your country than we have our entire population. Okay, you've got about 380 million people over here. We've got about 22. Okay, so it's just, there is so much larger volume of people. These expos that you guys are like here that we're at this weekend, we used to have one every 2 years. Okay, we now have one every year, but for the entire of Australia. That's it. So when you look that I can do 5 or 6 expos just in the spring, I mean, it's a huge difference, like economy wise, as to what we're able to go out and do.